Hi, everyone. Well, I'm really pleased to be here, although a little stressed, and I'll explain why in a moment. What would be really good, actually, is there's quite a few empty seats kind of in this sort of area. So it'd be kind of good if we all sort of concentrated into the middle of the room a little bit more, particularly this patch of seats over here. If we could fill those up, that would be great. So if you're loitering at the back, or maybe in these two corners in the front where I can't reach, if you can move sort of into the middle, then that would be really cool. So today I'm going to be demoing this project that I've been working on for about, I don't know, on and off for about a year. It's been quite an intense project. It's very complicated. So today, PPK asked me to come and demo it, but I also thought, because it's a slightly longer session than normal, actually, how long is my session? I don't even know. 50 minutes. I knew that. I'm very professional. I'm also going to, so as I've got 50 minutes, I'm also going to explain a bit about how the project works and some of the kind of technology behind it. But before I do that, I'm just going to introduce myself very briefly. I can't ever figure out how to explain what I do, because it's kind of varied and interesting. I don't know. So I stick with Creative Coder. That's kind of sums it up. Although, of course, there are lots of different types of creative coders. But when I say creative coder, I mean the sort of visual, interactive, engaging experiences on the web and off the web and on phones and not on phones. And yeah, so this is why it's hard for me to explain. So this is the sort of thing I like to do. Justin mentioned I'm a digital pyrotechnician. I quite like that. This is a project I built a few years ago called Pyrotechnics for the People. And it's a digital interactive fireworks display. So at the bottom of these columns, there are these motion detection areas. You wave your arms around, and fireworks come out. I don't know, kind of a simple idea, but I think that I love that sort of simple, but yet really engaging project. And it was a very early prototype. Didn't really even work that well, if I'm honest. But I'm doing a new version, version 2, at the beginning of the Brighton Digital Festival. I live in Brighton. So check that out, and hopefully version 2 will work better. I also run a website called creativejs.com. Has any of you seen it? Yeah, a few of you, awesome. So we just showcase the very best JavaScript projects there are in terms of kind of interesting experiments or graphics and things like that. So we also have, this sort of came out, it was a spin-off from my training workshops. Might just turn that down a little bit. So I run these JavaScript workshops where we experiment with all kinds of interesting visual effects, and they're proving rather popular. I just did a 4-day run in Amsterdam, so if you're interested in that, check out my website. But I'm not here to talk about that stuff today. And as Justin mentioned, there's the Creative Coding podcast too, which I think has about 20,000 listeners. My mic's kind of clicking around a bit, isn't it? I'm sorry about that. I'm not very good at equipment and stuff. I'm not very technical. It's fine. Right. Okay. So on with the story. PixelPhones. Now, we were initially going to go for a Guinness World Records Day. This is the world record. The most number of phones in an animated mosaic. Because there's another project called Blinkandroid, which is, I think it's part of the Android team. It's a German team of programmers, an open source project. And their project is kind of similar to what this project is. It syncs up all the phones together, so you can display images and animations across the phones. And they currently have the world record for the most number of phones in an animated display. or whatever, it's mosaic, they call it, animated mosaic. And the record currently is like 70 phones. I know they've done it since then with about 110 or something like that, and I was just like, yeah, I can totally beat that. Because last year at Frontiers conference in this very venue, I ran this project with about 200 or 300 phones. So I was like, yeah, I can totally kill it. So I thought, yeah, let's get the Guinness people in, let's get sponsorship, let's do it all big and scary and stuff. And we were going all through this process, and I finally found out from Guinness that it would only be a valid record if all the phones were together on a table or on the stage, maybe. So it's not in the audience. I think that's kind of boring. but there was nothing we could do about it. So instead, we're just going to have an awesome time. Yeah, I can tell you're behind me. And yeah, so anyway, but check out Blink and Droid, it's really fun. So this is it running at Frontiers, so you can see here, there's all the people there. Anyway, you're going to see it for yourself in a moment. I want to talk a bit about the history of where I got this stupid idea. Initially, I wanted to make an iPhone orchestra, you know, to have everyone in the audience becomes different sections of the orchestra and you know, and sync them all together. I thought that'd be kind of really fun. So I was talking about it with a few friends, but sadly I found out that it had been done already in 2002. Which is kind of crazy. Has anyone seen this project? It's mental. It's Golan Levin, who's a really good creative, he's like creative coding god almost. And he's got this project where you show up and you either download a ringtone for your old Nokia phone in those days, or they give you a phone, and then you sit in a specific seat. And he had this crazy computer system backstage that would just literally call the phones. You know, so they'd all be synchronized like that. But as well as phoning the phones, yeah, you can see it's kind of like those trails at the beginning of the cinemas films, right? It's like, please remember to turn your phone off. But yeah, so as well as the phones going off, there was also a projector projecting. Oh gosh, that's actually really annoying. There was a projector projecting on the audience, and so each individual member of the audience would light up as their phone went off as well. So a really amazing project. Sadly, kind of beat me to it, sort of 10 years before me. So. As well as the fact that it had been done, it's also very difficult to get audio to work within a browser. I wanted my project, at least initially, to run in a browser. Something I'm still considering, but at least for now, the orchestra side is on the back burner. So there are three main problems to this project. Well, I should probably just explain what the hell I want to do. So we take everyone's phone in the audience. They all open a web page, or you all open a web page, which is actually pointing at a server on my laptop, actually. And then I locate all the phones. And once I've located the phones, I can make colors and patterns appear across the whole entire audience. So, you know, I could, in theory, make animations and in different kind of sweeping effects. So that's kind of the idea of the project. And there are three main problems with this project. The first and the most complicated and the hardest one, and the thing that I've probably spent 90% of my development time on, is where are the phones? Yes, that's the first problem. The second one is syncing them all together. Yeah, and the third one, which is quite a major one, is testing. Because you can't really test this project without kind of 300 people. Oh, actually, yeah, that's quite good. That works out. So today we'll be doing some testing. So first of all, let's I decided to use WebSockets, right? Because it's in the browser. It's actually built into iOS browser from I think 4.2. Actually, I think it's from 4.2 in the browser. I'm sure there are much more knowledgeable people here that would be able to correct me on that if I'm wrong. But it doesn't. So now I built an app. Yeah, so I kind of liked the idea of having a completely self-contained app, and it's built in C++ using the Open Frameworks library. And I wanted the server to be part of that app and the same bit that finds the phones and everything. So I had to implement my own WebSocket handshake. Remy thinks I'm mental for doing this, but it seemed like a good idea at the time, and it mostly seems to work okay. Because a WebSocket server is just a socket server, and these things have been around for ages. The only extra bit in a WebSocket server is that it has this initial handshake, and it's absolutely mental. This is I think there are 2 protocols implemented. I think there are about 7 protocols altogether, but the 2 that are implemented, this is the old one, which iPhones implement, and it's kind of just totally random. I probably won't talk about, I'll just give you an idea. So when you connect to a WebSocket server, you get these kind of couple of keys like that. Now, those keys are, I can't exactly remember the process, but it's something like you take this key, you take out all the letters and things that aren't a number, and then you're left with a number. Well, if you leave the spaces in, you're left with a number and some spaces. So then you take out the spaces, and you count the spaces, and you use that, I think, as like, so I think you then run the number through some sort of number to the power of 2. I don't know, it's all mental. I've blanked it out because it was all such a nightmare. But it seems to work okay. So, and then there's the issue of sync. So I've done work on multiplayer games before, so I sort of know a bit about synchronizing stuff up. And the thing that I really was the kind of the key for getting this phone synchronized. Now the issue is that if I just tell all the phones, okay, everyone, every phone, turn red. Yeah, it's going to take a little while to get to all the phones. Known as, you probably know that's known as the latency, right? So it's the amount of time it takes for that message to get to your phones will be different, right? So they'll all come on at different times. So how do we sync them all up? Well, I had a copy of this book, hang on, I'll go back, by Job Maker, which is actually a Flash multiplayer games book. And Job is a friend of mine, and he's very experienced at making multiplayer games in his platform called ElectroServe, which is Java-based. But there's a process described in this book which syncs up the phones. And how it works is it basically, the client says to the server, what's the time? And it says it. So I looked at my watch then. I just was like, have I got time? I don't know. So the client says, what's the time? And the server says, it's 1:13 and 42 seconds and 463 milliseconds. And it does that 10 times, so then the client can work out the average amount of time it takes to get from the client to the server, and then it can actually sort of halve that, and then it can figure out what the time on the server is relative to the time on the client, because those clocks will be a little bit out of sync, right? So once it knows that difference, instead of me saying to the phones, turn to red now, I'll say, turn to red at 1:14, 12 seconds, and 500 milliseconds, which could be like a second in the future. So then it takes a little while to get to all the phones. Hopefully, before a second's out, they'll have all got the message, and then they'll all switch to red instantaneously, or at least that's how the theory goes. In that handshaking process, sometimes you get one little packet that gets a bit lost, so you'll end up with one of the time lengths a bit longer than all the others, so you just get rid of that. Anyway, that's a detail you probably don't need to know. So the next part, cameras. Well, this is coming to the hard part, right? Because I need to know where the phones are, and I was thinking about this problem for quite a while. You know, initially you sort of think, well, maybe GPS, right? But then it's like in a building like this, that's not really going to work, even in the most brilliant, most perfect environment outside with no big buildings. You know, you're still lucky to get like a few meters of accuracy. So GPS is out. And then I was kind of thinking, well, maybe I could like run a laser beam across the audience or something like that. And I could just make a phone app that looks out for the laser beam, and when it sees it, it knows when it saw it. And yeah, and it was all getting a bit crazy. And then I was talking to my friend Jer Thorpe about this, a digital artist. And he said, well, have you seen this project, the Junkyard Jumbotron? And I had actually seen it, but I'd sort of forgotten about it or discounted it. But the good thing about Junkyard Jumbotron is very clever. It enables you to put an image across a whole load of phones. Yeah, so you put all the phones or your iPads or whatever on a table like this and go to a website, and then that little kind of 2D barcode appears. And then with another phone, obviously you've got loads of phones, right? With another one of your many phones, you take a picture of that image with all the barcodes and send it to the server, and then the server figures out which bit of each bit of image should appear on which phone, and it puts them all together in a single image. So it's a really, really cool project. So I thought, well, I could do something like that. I could have a camera pointing at the phones, and I could take a picture of the phones and see the little barcodes. But of course, in an environment like this, even the most low-resolution barcode is never going to be able to be picked up by my camera, even though I've got quite a high-definition Firewire camera here. So I needed to figure out how could I get the phones to identify themselves with just, or it could even be that my camera only sees a single pixel worth of phone. So I realized that I could actually broadcast. So when the phones connect to my server, I could give them a unique ID. It's just a number. And then the phone could actually broadcast that number by flashing on and off in a certain sequence. So I was like, well, what sort of protocol could I use for that? I'm really running out of time, actually. I should probably get a bit faster. But this is kind of technical, but I think it's interesting. I don't know. Well, it remains to be seen. It's very convoluted. So let's say I want to broadcast this ID, 110 in binary. What's that, anyone? 6, yeah. You all know binary, right? Okay. So that's the number. It's got an ID of 6. We decided to broadcast 3 bits, so 110. So when there's a 1, I'd have the screen of the phone on, and when there's a 0, the screen would turn off. I do it twice just to make sure it's okay. And at the beginning, I'll put a 1 and a 0. Now, there's a problem with this in that, like, see here, we've got 3 1s together, and then we've got 2 1s together, and we've got 2 zeros together. So, like, and your number, your ID could just be like 1111111, right? So how do you figure out? It's going to be really difficult to know how many 1s there were in that long period of white. So I decided to Manchester encode the number. So Manchester encoding is a kind of system where you take every bit and you turn it into 2 bits. So here you see a 1 becomes a 1 and a 0. You see that white patch there is a 1 and the black patch is a 0. And then the next one is a 1 and a 0, and a 0 gets turned into a 0 and a 1. Yeah, you get that? So there's double the amount of data, but that's okay because you can see that it's always flashing on and off throughout its timeline. Now you can see that sometimes there are doubles, like that one. There's 2 offs together, 2 black screens, and then there's 2 white screens together, but there's never more than 2 together. So all I have to know is, well, is this thing that I've picked up a single digit, or is it a double digit? There's something else there that I've implemented in terms of this checksum as well, but I won't bore you with that now. So that is what my camera sees. It finds flashing objects, and it reads the pixels from the screen over time. So you can see that that's how it comes out as, yes, there's a single 1, single 0, single 1, double 0, double 1, double 0, single 1, single 0, double 1, and so on. Yeah, you get it? Phew. Okay, I should probably just get on with this. I'm really going to overrun otherwise. Now, that data is kind of messy. So I need to threshold it, and then I need to separate out all the ons and the offs. Then I need to put them all together and sort them in order of length, like that. So then I need to figure out which of those are singles and which of those are doubles. And so basically, I run a threshold. It's kind of a brute force system where I run the threshold as each length. So anything less than this threshold is a single. Anything greater than this threshold is a double. And then I work out if the number that comes out of that is valid or not. So I do that on all the different thresholds, like that. For all the thresholds, I go back. It's a brute force system, but there's some clever optimization that makes it run okay. So Wi-Fi is always a bit of an issue. However, the Wi-Fi here is actually really good, and touch wood. But when I ran it here in Amsterdam last time, it worked really well. So I'm not going to talk about Wi-Fi. But I learned a lot about Wi-Fi that I don't really want to know. And I'll talk a bit more about that in scaling it up if I get time. It's 50 minutes? 50, yeah, okay. So I've got till 10 to 2. Justin's switched off now. He's not even listening. That's fine. Okay, so here are your instructions. Are you ready for this? So first of all, I should just say this should work. This should work on all iPhones. It should work on Android phones in the native Android browser, not Chrome, as long as you've got Flash installed. If you don't have Flash installed, it probably won't work. So yeah, oh, did it work now, Jake? I don't know how that worked. Like, just right before we came on, we tested out Jake's Android phone, and it totally didn't work, and I was just like, oh, shit. Yes, because there's with Android, it's going through a Flash shim for the sockets, because Android browser hasn't implemented WebSockets. They've done it in the Chrome browser, but I'm using the wrong protocol, so you have to use the native one. Should also work, I think, on BlackBerry 7. So try it if you've got BlackBerry 7. I'd be interested to know if it works. I haven't tested it. I mean, obviously, we're testing it now. That's brilliant. Please switch off your laptops. We need to clear the Wi-Fi as much as we can to make sure that we can get the maximum number of connections as possible. And if you're on iOS, you can just go to seb.local. And if you're on Android or something else, you need to probably type in the IP address of my computer. So how are you getting on? Oh, okay, that's not... Oh, yeah, good. Oh, I'll tell you what. I might just record this. Bear with me a moment. It's all extra kind of test data, right? It's all test footage. Yeah, there you go. Right, so I might just give you a while longer to make sure you're connected. Oh, that's quite a few, actually. Whoa, okay. So yeah, you'll get a green screen if it works. It cycles around the ports until it finds it, so if it's using Android, it might take a while. So you're just holding up a blank screen there? Like, there's a guy there, I can't quite see you. Yes, it's you. Is that all you've got, just a blank screen? What's your phone? Sorry? Okay, just hit refresh maybe. It has to be on the Wi-Fi. If you're not on the Wi-Fi, it won't work. What else? There's something else I'm sure I need to tell you. I'm seeing a lot of green screens, which is good. I've never been so happy to see so many green screens. Oh yeah, so if you're on iOS as well, it tells you to install it as on the home screen. That's better because it gets rid of the Chrome above and below the browser. So if you're on iOS, please install it on your home screen. That's a lot better. Whoa, okay, well let's give it a try, shall we? Obviously, I'm totally confident that this will work. It's pretty awesome. Well, there you go. That's all the screens. So if you can't see yourself in this image, then you're outside of the range of my camera, I'm afraid. So, oh yeah, sure. There it is. All right, I'm just going to leave that there for a moment. Yeah, has everyone got the URL that needs it? You could try refreshing, yeah. Yeah. I feel like we need some nice bossa nova music or something at this point. That'd be nice, wouldn't it? So, has everyone got the URL that needs it? Anyone still need the URL? Because I'm going to turn it off. In 3, 2, oh, it's gone. Okay, right, so there you all are. Don't you look pretty? That's rather cool, isn't it? So I'm sorry I can't quite get people on the edges. It might be people in these corners, sort of there and there, that are cut off. So if you're in the corners and you want to be part of this, move into the center of the room. There's still quite a lot of space over this side of the venue. That's pretty cool. Okay, so this is the scary part, because I'm going to tell all the phones to start broadcasting their ID. But before I do that, I might just run a little calibration trick, because it's all good test data, right? So I'm going to just run this calibration just so that I can have some good footage for me to test with. So I'm not actually finding the phones yet. I don't know what's up with you guys in the front. Do you guys want to try refreshing? So if your screen is still green, then we've lost your connection. So try refreshing. This is kind of really good data for me. I'm not processing any of this right now. I'm just recording the camera feed so that I can use it to test, because I'm looking at scaling this up to several thousand. Wow, it actually looks really cool. I just want to make sure my camera is recording this. Oh, it's so pretty. It's like really twinkly. So what I'm doing is actually giving you all fake IDs. I'm running the first set of IDs, and then I'm going to adding 500 to it and going to the next set of IDs. So hopefully, as a result of this, I'll have lots of footage of lots of different IDs, and hopefully that should be good test footage for me to check my algorithms with. So let's stop calibrating now. I'll just do one more. There you go. Right, so I might just keep it recording, but let's see if that works. So now I'm going to try and find the phones for real. So this is where I might need to test some calibration things, like I'm looking for phones of a particular size and stuff like that. So let me see if I can find. Let's just try it and see what happens. So am I showing the trails? I'll show the positions. It might get slow, so I might have to try again. But let's give it a go. Let's see what happens. So it found a few, but not that many. It's running really slowly, probably because I'm recording it. I'll stop recording it. Oh, look, so it's processing all that information, and see, it's decoding them. And when you get a green circle, it means it's found you. Let's try again. So I've obviously missed a few. So I'll keep your phone still, please. Come on, it's like my job's hard enough as it is. Oh, there you go. Right, let's try again. Let's see if we get some more this time. Yeah, so you can see the trail of pixels that it leaves as it's flashing. I might turn the trails off and the positions and just see if I can get a few more. So let's try again. Hold up your phone nice and still if you're not found yet. It's not bad, is it? There's still a few missing ones. Let's see if I can find you. I wonder what the issue there is. Come on. It's not bad. I'm going to just try it, keep going a bit longer and see if I can find it. I can slow down the frame rate. I could try doing that. The frame rate of the phones is different from the frame rate to the camera. So at the moment, I'm running the phones at like 20 frames a second. So let's try running them slower than that and see if that means that I can find the last few. So let's see what happens. Last few, come on. So you can see it's obviously the algorithm needs quite a bit more refining, but we'll see what happens. Oh, that's not bad. I think I've got most of you. How many? 360. Wow, that's quite a lot of phones, actually. That guy's really excited. All right, let's... Come on. It's weird. The last few just aren't quite... I'm just not quite getting you, but that's okay. I think I've got most of you. So... Okay, I'm going to give up now, so that's cool. I've got most of you. So now we've got that, let's see if I can run some interesting stuff on it. Let's see. I might just pull this out. So now, of course, because all the phones are like sort of, they're kind of, they're sort of arranged in perspective, and I kind of want to unproject that to make it back in perspective again, so I can kind of distort the image there, which gives me more sort of flexibility on where the image comes out. So the other thing I need to do, well, let's just try setting you all to a color. Let's just see how that runs. So I know the first program here is like a rainbow, so let's just turn that on and see if you all change color. You ready? It won't be in sync yet, but let's try it. All right, so, oh my goodness, that's not very good. That's... really, I did expect much better latency than that. Maybe I've lost some of you. That's a bit of a worry if I have. Let's sync you all and see what happens. So if I do that, then it should run through the handshake process. I'm going to just put a few more. Right, so you should go red and then yellow when it's finished the sync process. Okay, that's reassuring. Most of you are still with me, that's good. Yes, so I think you're all synced. Good. Now let's try this again. Don't know why that's not happening. Let's try a different program. Let's try this one. Oh, I don't know why. It's weird because some of you have just stuck. I don't know why. It's a real worry because that doesn't seem to be working very well at all. I guess I can just turn that off. It should reset everyone. I think I might have screwed up somewhere. Because, yeah, some of you are working, but lots of you are still yellow, which is not really what I was hoping for. Let me turn that on. Come on. What did I screw up? I obviously screwed something up. Well, it's going to be a boring presentation, isn't it? Because that's not working at all. Am I not still... I'm not still broadcasting, am I? No. Calibrating. Turn those off. Yeah, so what do you want to do for a bit? Maybe it's this. Maybe I'll just reset this. That might help. Right. No, nothing. Like 4 of you. Tell you what, should we do it again? Should we start over? Do you want to just refresh your browsers? And we'll see what happens. Sorry about this. You didn't really have anything better to do, did you? That's cool. Okay. Okay, cool. Let's start syncing you all. Okay, so you seem to be mostly in sync now. Let's try running. Oh, and then I need to identify you, of course. So let's give that a go. Oh, that was good, wasn't it? Look at that. Let's try again. One more time. I've got most of you. That's pretty good. All right, cool. So let's try. It's weird. That one is just like pure white, isn't it? I'm not getting flashing off that at all. I don't know who that is. It's really hard to... Which one is it? Okay. Right, so let's stop broadcasting. I think I'm doing that. Right. Let's try again. Let's do this one. That's not cool. Oh, I think I might have messed up somewhere, you know. All right, well, that's fine. I've only got 20 more minutes anyway, so that's good. But I tell you what we can try doing is, you know what I've probably done is because I've been programming this like right up till this morning. You really shouldn't do that stuff, right? And there's a few changes that I thought would make it more reliable that I've obviously just broken. But that's cool. I've got a new game to try. Do you want to try a new game? All right, let's see if it works. So it's like a memory game. You remember, I probably don't want to mention the name because let's just try this again. That's weird how it's only a few of you. Let's turn the latency off. Maybe I need more latency. Let's give it more. It's still only a few of you, isn't it? Okay, so this game is like a memory game from the 80s called Simon. And it's, I don't know if it's going to work at all, actually. So the idea is that you will get, you remember, like you've got 4 colors and 4 buttons, and you need to look at your phone while you're playing it, probably. And basically, the pattern will appear on screen, and then you guys have to copy the pattern, and the pattern gets bigger and bigger every time. So let's just give it a go. Let's see what happens. I think if I just hit start, it should go. Now, also, there's some audio that your phones have to load, so I think that might be what's breaking it. But we'll see what happens. Let's start it. Oh, nothing? Oh, I'm not running the program. Hit the red button. Oh, yes, thank you very much. I've totally meant for that to happen. What is that? Oh, damn it, I missed it. Wonder where that is. I should have really inspected that before I closed it. Right, let's start over. I won't bother locating anyone this time, so don't worry about it this time. Brilliant. No, nothing. Let's try that one. If I do that one. Oh man, they're so in sync. Can you see that? That's just ridiculous. Okay. All right. Well, maybe I've got 13 minutes. Maybe I'll just try finding you again. Yeah, because that seems to be working now. Let's give it a try. Come on, please work. Please work. Okay, that's as many as I'm gonna hope for, I think. So let's see if this works now. I'll use the found. Oh, there you go. Come on, that's more like it. That was scary, though. I don't know why that wasn't working before. Let's speed it up a bit. Whoa! Oh, that's so beautiful. Look at that. It looks better in real life. Just look around. It looks awesome. Well, that's good. Let's try some other programs then. What have I got? What's number 2? I've forgotten. Oh, is that particles? Particles never work, really, but I'll try them anyway. Let's see. Oh, it kind of works. Look. Yeah, that's cool. That's never really worked before. This one's fun. You can kind of see him. Not really. I think I need 1,000 people for that one to work. And then I did this new one the other day, which is this plasma, which never seems to work. Let's give that a try. Oh, that's cool. Yeah, look at that. Yeah, no one else can clap because they're holding their phones. Let's change some of the colors and stuff. Whoa, it's just like acid house again, isn't it? Brightness range, yeah, that looks pretty fun. I wonder what's latency, 870. Oh, that's cool. That's so pretty. All right, cool. Well, let's try the game again, and maybe I'll try the game first that I know definitely works. Oh man, I've so jinxed it now, haven't I? And this is Nyan Catch. So the idea of the game is to catch the Nyan cat as it jumps from phone to phone. The first one, I'll make it quite slow. So basically, he's going to land on your phone, and if I didn't find your phone when I was syncing, then this game won't work, I'm afraid. So if your phone stopped working, it's probably because I couldn't find it. But if you can, if it has been found, then the Nyan cat's going to run across the phones from the back of the audience to the front in rows, and it's going to run across your phone, and you've got to tap him with your finger as fast as you can. As soon as you see the cat, you've got to tap him. Yeah? You get the rules? Okay, good. I'm a bit concerned that there are still lots of colors on everyone's phones, but let's see what happens. So they should all go pink or blue? Blue, yeah. I'm happy with blue. And then let's start the cat. Are you ready? I should probably turn it down because the music's quite annoying. Okay, go. And if you hit the cat, you should probably look at your phones at this stage. Yeah, don't hold them up because you'll miss the cat. But if you catch him, then your screen will go rainbow colors like I'm seeing at the back. Now, normally you'd see the cat running along the screen, but today you can't. I don't know why. Oh, there you go. Right, so whoever is ID number 27 won. Who was that? Is it you? Cool, well done. All right, should we try again? Yeah? Now, I was promised loads of prizes, by the way, but PPK has given them all away already. So there aren't any prizes, except come and talk to me afterwards and I'll give you a hug. Yeah? Yeah, those guys are into that. Cool. Right, so this time the cat is going to go double the speed, okay? So it's really much more challenging. You ready? Set. Go. Yes, I'm seeing some rainbow colors. Nice work. Oh, there you go. Okay, so we're done. So who is ID number 39? Yes, well done. Come and see me after for the hug. Right, okay, so that was Nyan Catch. Okay, so now I've only got a few minutes left. I'm going to try the new game. Fingers crossed it will work. It's this memory game. It might crash again. Let's give it a go. Starting, so it should go blue. And so this is the one that I've experimenting with audio. So let's see if it works. Okay, do you know the rules? Look at the screen. You'll see the colors appear on the screen. Then the colors will appear on your phone, and you push the buttons on your phone in sequence. Yeah? Let's have a practice run. See if it works. Did anyone get it? Oh, damn it. All right, let's have a look. Oh, I thought that might be the problem. Okay, I'll just fix it now, yeah? No, I totally can't do that, I'm sorry. I might just leave that in that state. Okay, well, that's the demonstration part of our section over with. Okay. Right, so I'm running out of time, so let's just wrap up. I wanted to talk a bit about the future of this project. Obviously, it's in a very early, embryonic kind of prototypal phase, you might have noticed. I hope it's still been fun for you. You know, it's obviously really valuable for me to be able to test this out. But what I'm going to do with this project is I'm going to make it completely open source. When it's done and robust, I'm going to release it as a platform, and I'm hopefully going to get some help from the open frameworks and processing communities to make this possible for anyone to use. Because I don't really want to just hold on to this and make it my own thing. I think that there's so much potential with it, and I've barely scratched the surface, and I certainly won't be able to reach all its potential. So when it's a bit more stable, I'll be releasing it all open source for anyone to use. So if you're interested in that, then let me know. So the other thing is scaling it up. I had a phone call a few weeks ago from the lighting designer, a very famous lighting designer who works with all the big name international rock stars. And he wanted me to bring it on tour with him in September for up to 20,000 people? 20,000 phones. So we obviously panicked, and we managed to, I got my friends Helicar and Lewis, they're digital artists in London, and their production company, and we worked out if we could do it, and we kind of think we can do it. But we also got a Wi-Fi specialist in, because we need a new generation of Wi-Fi equipment to handle that number of people. But sadly, it didn't come off because it was just too expensive. The equipment's really expensive, it was prohibitive. But at least in theory, we should be able to get it running on those sort of numbers. Obviously, it gets really complicated, not just the Wi-Fi, but also the camera equipment. You know, would need probably multiple cameras. As it is, I'm also looking at a tour in September or July to September, which would be much more manageable, like maybe 600 to 3,000 people, which for me, I'm a lot more comfortable about. To be honest, I was kind of a bit stressed about the possibility of doing 20,000 people in September. That was doing my head in. So, yeah, if you're interested at all, then please let me know. But for now, that's it. So here's all my details. If you want to get in touch, please do. Thank you. Do we have like a couple of minutes for questions? Yeah, has anyone got any questions? No? Just think about it. Yeah, there's one in the front here. In the front? Come on, run, little microphone people. Actually, I say little, they're like 12 foot tall. Yeah, what's your question?
Yeah, so great stuff. First,
Thank you.
Congratulations. I've actually been working in a project that is very similar to this, but nowhere close to what you've already achieved. So I've been using Node.js for managing this. Have you tried this at all? Have you discarded it?
Yeah, I've played a bit with Node. So, I mean, I could, when we scale this up, we should probably separate the server out from the bit that does the computer vision and the bit probably that also sends the messages to the phones. Obviously, at that point, it's going to get a lot more complicated. I mean, Node is an option, but, you know, a native C++ server is going to run faster than Node. And when you're talking about 20,000 people, that's kind of, it would mean that you'd probably a rack of 24-core servers rather than just one single 12-core. So, optimization is kind of important. But I like Node, and I think it's really good. And for some smaller applications, it would be absolutely fine.
So when I did, so obviously...
Who didn't switch their phone off?
So in my exploration, I quickly stumbled on your question about how do you localize devices. And one of my ideas was to use a bump-like system where people would bump their phone with each other so that you would know how they line up. And,
yeah, that's a good idea.
Only the...
Yeah, you could get a network then, couldn't you? Sort of mesh network. Right. And that's kind of how Blink Android works. They kind of, I'll stand into the light. They follow the light. They sort of, when they put a phone on, they kind of tell the phones next to it that they're nearby. So yeah, that's cool too. I kind of wanted a transparent sort of magical system. Of course, in the tests we ran today, it was anything but transparent or magical. But in theory, you could just hold your phone up and I could start it flashing on and off, and that could just look like an effect. I could leave all the phones flashing for a while I find them all. And in a sort of nightclub situation where people are moving around, every now and again I could just make them all flash again. So I like the idea of something that's a bit less complicated, that's very seamless. Cool.
Anyway, very good job.
Thanks. Thank you. No more time? No, that's it.
Yeah.
Thanks very much, everyone. Thank you.